Maybe you could walk through for my listeners, Barb, what you and Ryan found in your book and what you found in your research since that time. When we talk about right wing extremism, taking into account the nebulosity, if I can use that term, the definition, who are the main actors here in Canada? And perhaps if you can, how does that compare with the main actors south of the border, where I would argue, and I'm pretty sure you would agree, their problem, their issue with their far right is orders of magnitude worse than it is here in Canada. So how do the two countries compare? Starting first with Canada.
Yeah, I think it's proportionate in many ways. In 2015, when we published the report on which the book was based, we identified just over 100, 120 active groups in the Canadian context, and
120
we've been
active groups in Canada?
yeah, and that was pretty conservative estimate then, because really, given that it was only the two of us, we were really focusing on Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta, a little bit in BC. But we're estimating far higher numbers than that. In the magnitude of 300 or more active groups, and it's a moving target because there's a lot of morphing, schisms created between groups, and new ones popping up and old ones disappearing. So it's sort of really hard to get a finger on it. But there are a lot of groups that persist. After 2016, Blood and Honor, which was the first far right
Yes,
group to be designated
listed.
as a
Yeah.
terrorist entity. Yeah. They're in spite of that, they're still active, especially in Western Canada. Who else we have? Pegida, which is an acronym drawn from the original German group, which
Hmm.
is Patriotic Europeans Against the Islamization of the West. They're increasing numbers in terms of chapters and adherents since 2016. So we've got those old groups that are regrouping and creating new chapters, but we're also seeing a lot of completely new groups that have emerged post 2016. So Soldiers of Odin, Proud
Hmm.
Boys, for example,
Which,
being
which is Finnish in origin, I believe.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the interesting things that a lot of the movement here, a lot of the groups here are offshoots of either European or American. We have a lot of our own homegrown. Don't get me wrong, but we do have some offshoots. So the Base and Atomwaffen, for example, which are amongst the most violent American
Mm-hmm.
groups, we also are seeing evidence of them in the Canadian context. Patrick Matthews, uh,
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
of infamy, who was a serving member of the CAF,
Right.
who when he was about to be outed, ran off to the states and was subsequently arrested there on sort of not terrorism charges but related charges.
Hmm.
So yeah, there are really strong connections between Canadian groups and individuals and their counterparts elsewhere. I think one of the other things, though, is we've focused for so long on how many groups and where are they, that sort of thing. One of the things that we're seeing now and hearing about in our interviews with law enforcement and intelligence communities in particular, and community based organizations, is that there is a real atomization of the movement.
Hmm.
So we've got these groups, but we've also got a lot of floaters out there who don't necessarily affiliate with any particular group, but sort of flow in and out of the social media forums, for example, associated with some of these groups. So those are, what we have been calling in the past lone actors,
Hmm.
who have been the most dangerous and
Hmm.
damaging. Right? I mean, the mass homicides that we've seen in Canada have all been attributable to individuals who have been mobilized by their online engagement, and often engagement in one direction. Right? They're not necessarily posting, but they are consuming
Hmm.
these sorts of vilifying narratives online.